So I'm kind of grateful that I'm on the Provost Search Committee because I got this really awesome folder. And it goes with my outfit. Welcome. I'm Irene Harold. I'm the librarian of the college, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Hidden Science Superstars Unveiling event. I want to wish to acknowledge our distinguished guests, speakers, students, faculty, and staff. If you were here in April for the reveal of the first 4 honorees, you saw the amazing video testimonials on why they were nominated and heard inspiring words from our provost, Dr. Carolyn Newton, herself a biologist. This initiative started in the fall of 2017 when I mentioned to science librarian Sherrow and Science Library Associate May Evans that underrepresented individuals in STEM seem to be missing from the beautiful Timken Library Reading Room. In fact, when you look around the soffit, you see what I mean. I didn't feel that we were representing a reflection of our campus community. They immediately created an initiative to solicit from the campus community nominees and then held a vote to identify individuals to represent visually in this library. We consulted the Center for Diversity and Inclusion to ensure that we were proceeding in an appropriate way. Zach took the lead on writing a successful LSTA, which is Library Services Technology Act, open grant administered by the State Library of Ohio after a September 2017 visit by State Librarian Beverly Cane, who will be one of our speakers in a moment, and Deputy Librarians Ann Watson and Missy Lodge. Missy's a Worcester alum and now a retiree from the state. Congratulations, Missy. Zach facilitated an MLK social justice panel with the assistance of digital curation librarian Katie Heil in January of 2018. That was 2018, with participating students and faculty who nominated individuals to dialogue about including underrepresented individuals in the college's STEM curriculum. And some of those students are here today to be some of our revealers. This summer, a co-authored article was published about our efforts in college and research library news, and Zach and May did a poster session for the diversity track at the American Library Association's annual conference in New Orleans in June. And a copy of their poster is up on the board behind the refreshments, so please take a moment to look through the amazing journey this process has been. And Zach has been accepted as a panelist to present on the initiative at the Association of College and Research Libraries Biennial Conference this coming April in Cleveland. So today we will be unveiling the results of our efforts. It's been a terrific process, and this project would not have been possible without the amazing work of Zachary Sharrow, May Evans, and the assistance of Upikin Gunawan, the library's administrative coordinator. Please help me thank them. And of course, many others who are acknowledged on the back of your program. The portraits will be permanently placed in the Timken Library stairway that led up to the reading room. In fact, we moved Annie B. Irish, the first female faculty member, to a place of honor in Andrews Library, and with the help of Kitty Zerko and Doug McLumphy. As you can see on the program, I'll be back a bit later to tell you about exciting developments in relation to this project that came about in April around the time of the reveal. But first, though, it's my pleasure to introduce our 3 honored speakers. So first up, Sarah Bolton, the 12th president of the College of Worcester. Prior to assuming the Worcester presidency in 2016, she served for 6 years as dean of the college at Williams College in Williamstown, Massachusetts, just in case you didn't know where Williams College was. She received her BA in physics and biophysics from Brown University. I'm not going to tell the years. Her master's and PhD from the University of California, Berkeley in physics, and her doctoral thesis is titled Dimensionality, Dependence of Indium, Galadium, Arsenide, Nonlinear Optical Response. And yes, I was an English major. I have no clue what I just said. Her research and scholarship explores the properties of novel nanostructured materials, that I think I know, which have features made up of only a few atomic layers, and she uses ultra-fast pulsed lasers to investigate the ways that energy is transferred in these quantum mechanical systems. She's published in physics journals. Now, this is a librarian, I do know, Physical Review A and Physical Review B. I've heard her speak about being a physicist and at times the only woman in the lab. And I know she is a champion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in fact, when I first arrived on campus in August of 2017, she sent a memo to the Worcester community and said, "The College of Worcester has long held the understanding that students' best opportunities for learning take place when they study in a community that spans a wide range of experiences, traditions, beliefs, and perspectives. These commitments reach all the way back to our founding president. We believe that our educational purpose is only possible in a diverse community of learners, and so we seek to increase our diversity along all of the dimensions of identity and experience. When we bring people to Worcester, whether as students, staff, guests, or faculty, we intend that their experiences in the classroom and on campus be excellent. We pursue the goals of equity and inclusion so that students, faculty, and staff of all races, ethnicities, nationalities, faiths, sexual orientations, gender identities, and socioeconomic circumstances can feel welcome here and have equitable opportunities to learn and thrive." So exemplifying the spirit of the Hidden Science Superstar's intent to feature underrepresented individuals in STEM, I'm delighted to invite President Bolton to the podium.
Thank you so much, Irene, and thank you everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad to see so many folks here. This may be as many people as you can pack into the reading room, at least on one level. You'd have to go up, and it's just wonderful to see all of you here today. Like Irene said, this is a really exciting moment for the college. In a way, you might think these are objects of limited size relative to the large building that we're putting them in, but this is a big move, and I think it's one that we are in a particularly good position to make. So I want to say a couple of things about that. I'm really delighted that the college has undertaken this project. I think it's a remarkable one. I have the opportunity to talk to folks around the country about Worcester, and I talk about this project pretty often, and people say, wow, that's a fantastic idea. Everyone should do that. And I think, yes, everyone should do that. But I think there's a reason that it's so wonderful that we're doing it here first, and I want to talk about that. What we're doing here really is broadening our iconography, right? Thinking about what is the wide range of inspiring stories of discovery that can dwell among us here at the College of Worcester. And as Irene said, Worcester is premised on a particular founding idea. And that founding idea is that everyone should be welcome in the community of learners on equal terms. Our founding president, in his inaugural address, laid out that importance of being a place of studies for all people, adding that the essential test of citizenship in the Commonwealth of Science and Letters should be character, mental and moral quality, and attainment, not condition or race or color or sex. And that was a pretty radical statement in 1866 for him to make. And he didn't just make the one statement and then kind of just loft it out there and move on. He actually gave a 2-hour, I think, inaugural address, because it's like 20 single-space pages in very small font, in which he goes through and says, you might think that it would be wrong for women and men to study at the same institution, but you're wrong about that, and here's why. Or you might think that perhaps we shouldn't have a variety of different people in the classroom together, but you would be wrong, and here's why. Here's why it is critical, as Irene said, to the mission of the college and the quality of the education we provide, to bring people from a wide variety of experiences and identities and perspectives together. So he said that, and he said it at great length. I'm not planning to go on quite that long. But it's also the case that when independent study was founded here at the college in the late 1940s and then made a part of every student's experiences in the early 1950s, that idea was also founded on a particular principle, which was that every single student could and would create new knowledge, that every single student would be making new discoveries, doing work that had never been done before when they were here. And so there's a rooted principle there as well about who gets to know things, who gets to discover and go beyond the bounds of the known, and putting it out that that is for everyone. Since the time of that founding, Worcester has become, I think, far closer to the ideal that President Lord laid out. Although he said these things were important, of course, the college and our society as a whole still continues on a long journey towards the goals that he articulated. But our community has become much more diverse, much more international, and much more inclusive, and therefore, of course, also much stronger over the intervening 150 years. And we know that we as a society still have a long way to travel to ensure that the talent, which is so ubiquitously spread all around every kind of community across the United States and around the world, is met with an equally broad set of opportunity. We want to be sure that every person can grow and fulfill their highest potential. That's our highest calling, I think, as a college and as a society. So Worcester's extraordinary history makes this wonderful project, I think, particularly fitting for our college and our history. As we unveil the hidden science superstars today, we literally make visible our deepest belief, which is that all people can be discoverers, all people can do science, and that the greatest progress requires the contributions of thinkers with the widest range of beliefs and experiences, nationalities, identities, genders, and perspectives. As Irene said, growing up, I was almost always the only girl in my class, and that was the case in college and in my life as a faculty member as well. I had wonderful colleagues and friends, and still, though, I would have been inspired as I was teaching and learning and building ultrafast lasers to measure quantum mechanical effects. I would have been inspired to be surrounded by the stories like the ones that are being told here today. So I'm particularly grateful to all of the people that Irene mentioned whose ideas and inspiration and commitment and generosity brought this marvelous project to fruition. I want to offer my special gratitude to Zach and May for leading and shepherding this project, to the students who so thoughtfully and with so much energy made it as wonderful as it is, and to the funders, the State Library of Ohio, Mary and Damon Hickey for their funding, and Heather Fitzgibbon, who helped us also secure additional funding. Everyone who put energy into this has made a wonderful thing happen. The last thing I want to just mention is that the figures of these particular hidden science superstars that we're going to install today weren't actually ones that I knew as a child, so I didn't have at that moment the opportunity to be inspired by them. But today, I do have all of the inspiration that I could possibly imagine, and that inspiration comes from you, from the extraordinary talent and drive and creativity and wisdom that you all, Worcester's extraordinary students and staff and faculty and alumni and friends, embody. So thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for all that you make possible every day here at Worcester and beyond it. Go Scots.
Okay, a slight height differential. So Beverley Cane is the State Library of Ohio's state librarian. She has 30 years of experience in Ohio, having served as the director of the Portsmouth Public Library System, as the branch manager of Upper Arlington Public Library and Lane Road Branch, and prior to that, the Medina County District Library, where she first was a reference librarian and then a manager of adult services. As the state library, you're wondering what she does, she works with the staff and the board to continue and expand library services to all types of libraries and to Ohio residents regardless of their geographic location. She earned her Master of Public Administration degree and a Master of Library Science degree from Kent State University. And she has a Bachelor of Music from University of Akron. She's received multiple awards. She's a past president of the Ohio Library Council, a former member of the board of directors of the Scioto, did I say that right? Scoto? County Law Library Resources Board, and has served as a member or chairperson to numerous state, local, and national committees. As one of the funders of the Hidden Science Superstars project, through the pass-through of the LSTA grant funds, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome Ms. Cain to the podium to share her remarks.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to be speaking after Irene because the height is much more similar. Well, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to be here today to celebrate with all of you as you dedicate the wonderful new displays honoring scientists, engineers, technologists, and inventors from groups that have been historically underrepresented in the STEM fields. It was just a little over a year ago that Missy Lodge and another colleague and I visited the College of Worcester Libraries. It was my first time on campus. And as we were strolling through this building, Librarian Irene Harold expressed her desire to expand the representation of women and other underrepresented groups in the scientists into the displays here in the Timken Science Library. And as we walked through the building and she talked to us about what she wanted to do, we said, well, you know, the State Library of Ohio administers those federal LSTA grants, and we think this might make a wonderful grant proposal. So we were very happy when she followed up with a proposal and we were able to help support this wonderful program. It's now very rewarding to be back a year later to see the result of this tremendous effort that really involved the entire campus. I think that's one of the most inspiring things to me, that everyone across campus had the opportunity to become involved. And so on behalf of the State Library staff, administration, and board, it's my honor to offer our sincere congratulations to all of you as you officially unveil the new portraits and busts of hidden science superstars. Thank you.
So every time I sit down, I go, dang, they're good. They've got Women in Science display right here. Whoa, awesome job, May. So our next speaker is Shadra Smith. She's the Associate Dean of the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. She joined Worcester as the Assistant Dean of Students, Director of Multicultural Student Affairs in 2015. She served the role of Associate Dean of the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, or CDI, since its revision in summer of 2017. She's originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana. She has professionally worked in higher education for over 10 years and has had past work experiences in residence life, student activities / leadership, Greek life, academic support, and her passion, diversity and inclusion. She earned her MS in Education, Student Affairs Administration, and her BA in Communications and Culture, both from Indiana University. And we invited her and CDI to partner with us on this project from the beginning. It is my sincere pleasure to invite her to provide her remarks.
Thank you, Irene. Good afternoon, everyone. A little over a year ago, I received an email from the college's new director of libraries. She and her staff wanted to diversify this beautiful space by recognizing people from underrepresented and historically marginalized groups. I was surprised and elated that not only someone, but someone new wanted to take on this wonderfully keeps me all the way busy all the time thing called inclusivity. They sought out staff from the Center of Diversity and Inclusion to ask our thoughts and converse about their ideas, and that was it. That may seem like it makes sense for many of you, yet oftentimes when folks within diversity, equity, inclusion work are asked for their thoughts, it becomes a little bit more than that. And of course, we're often happy to assist and help because this is what we have a passion for. But for me, it was just a joy to attend last year's reveal and be amazingly surprised at the work that Irene, May, and Zach had done on this project. I just want to say thank you, faculty, staff, and students, alumni, and guests for your contributions. And thank you especially to Irene, May, and Zach for your bravery and advocacy. On behalf of the CDI staff, we appreciate your true partnership in helping our community become more inclusive. We look forward to sharing many more thoughts and work and hours with you all again soon. Thank you.
So this project, as you can hear, has been an incredible learning experience. I originally thought we could just locate created busts and images of underrepresented individuals in STEM. And after extensive searching by May and I and Zach, I only found a bobblehead of Marie Curie, which was eye-opening. That led to our nominating voting process. And once we made selectees, we had another learning experience, gaining permission to create the busts and the portraits. So you don't just go out and do it. You gotta get the rights. May Evans took an incredible lead in finding who we could contact and if there were families and or foundations. Some declined having a bust made, so we were glad we asked. For the 2 of the 4 revealed in April, we received the following permissions. Mariam Mirzakhami's portrait. Mandy Ferguson at Stanford Department of Mathematics contacted Mirzakhami's husband, because she passed away previously, Jan Vondrak, on our behalf, and he gave permission for the portrait. Mae Jemison's portrait is owned by NASA, which is a government entity and therefore in the public domain. For Ibasina, images upon which the busts were based were in the public domain. And for Martha Chase, the images used with permission were from Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories archives, where she did the majority of her work. So I now invite Zach Sherrow, our science librarian, to lead the unveiling. 2 busts, 2 portraits, and then I'll be back.
Thank you, Irene. I will not make a reference to my height relative to everyone else's heights this afternoon. Hi, everyone. So I think our speakers this afternoon have already said more than I could add to and done it much more eloquently than I would be able to. So for my part, I have the pleasure of introducing the students who are going to be doing the honors of today's unveilings. Earlier, Irene mentioned that when we had the initial reveal of our results back in April, we screened some short biographical videos of the honorees. We are not going to be rescreening those today, but if you're interested in seeing them, watching or rewatching them, if you're interested in taking a look at the poster that May and I presented at ALA, or if you're interested in reading the article that Irene, May, and I had published in College and Research Libraries News, if you take a look at your program, there is a small web address close to the bottom that says more information. You can go there and see all of this information at any time. So, without further ado, I would like to invite up to the podium Allison C Kurd. She is a senior biology and English major, and we're especially happy to have Allison here this afternoon because she submitted one of the initial nominations for our first honoree. So, Allison.
Dr. Martha Chase was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and graduated from the College of Worcester as part of the class of 1950. The Hershey-Chase experiment, conducted with her colleague Dr. Alfred Hershey at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, helped confirm that DNA is the molecule of inheritance. Her career would later take her to Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee, the University of Rochester, and the University of Southern California. Alfred Hershey shared the 1969 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine but Dr. Chase was not recognized at that time.
Okay, so next we have Vedika Jha, class of 2018, biology and mathematics major, and now an entrepreneur at a Worcester-based startup called Prometheus.
Thank you, Zach. Dr. Maria Mirzakhani proved to be an outstanding mathematician beginning in her youth in Iran. She went on to complete graduate work at Harvard University and then hold professorships at Stanford and Princeton, the other Worcester. In 2014, Mirzakhani received a Fields Medal, the most prestigious honor in mathematics, becoming both the first woman and the first Iranian to do so. My fellow math majors and I idolize her and were very sad when she passed away last year. And so I'm extremely grateful that we're doing this in her honor. And I'm deeply honored myself to unveiling this portrait of her today. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, next I'd like to introduce Alight Abraham Isaac, class of 2021, a mathematics and studio art major.
Ibn Sina, also known by the Latinist name Avicenna, was a Persian philosopher and polymath of the Islamic Golden Age who made contributions to physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. His encyclopedic works, the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine, were used by scholars across the world for a century.
And for our fourth but not final unveiling, Zoe Bills of the class of 2021.
Dr. Mae Jemison earned a degree in chemical engineering at Stanford University, followed by an MD from Cornell's Medical College. After a short time in the Peace Corps, she was selected for NASA's astronaut program and became the first African-American woman in space aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour in 1992. Since then, she has pursued a distinguished career of scientific advocacy. She is the current leader of 100 Year Starship, a global initiative with the goal of human travel to another star within the next 100 years.
All right, you notice there's still two more. Something amazing happened around the time of our announced first four honorees. First, Provost Newton and Dr. Fitzgibbon asked us, I can't believe this, they asked us if we could use more funding, as they had an external source of funds that indicated it might be interested in supporting another bust. We said, of course, yes. And then, being so moved during the unveiling event in April, Mary and Damon Hickey, Damon, who is the retired library director from 2008, approached me about funding a fourth bust and honoring retired science librarian Donna Jacobs. The Hickeys, in making this gift in her honor, said, "It is in recognition of Donna K. Jacobs, Worcester's first science librarian, who did more than anyone else to make Timken Science Library a teaching facility for the sciences. Donna was the science librarian before there was an integrated science library, and she presided over the move of the 4 separate science and mathematics collections and their integration into a single library. a huge undertaking requiring meticulous planning and execution, in addition to overseeing every aspect of the renovation, design, and execution. And Damon said, I especially remember her tenacity in insisting the contractor find a way to remove that supporting column from the middle of the online classroom. Of course, he said it much nicer than I did. She successfully launched the transition from print to digital resources for journals, databases, indexes, abstracts, and online search tools, and taught majors how to use them. Donna herself was a science major in college, biology, and she married a physicist, Don Jacobs, professor of physics at Worcester. She did outstanding work and deserves the college's recognition for it. Donna, please stand and allow us to honor you. If she starts to tear up, I'm lost. So we are delighted, thank you, Damon and Mary, for this gift in Donna's honor. We're delighted to receive it. So instead of 4 hidden science superstars for Timken Library, today we will reveal 2 more and unveil their images. The additional honorees were selected as the next most vote getters and individuals we could obtain permission for the right to create the bus. One from the son of the honoree, Vincent Yan, which doesn't tell you anything because that's not the honoree's name, created from the Hickey gift honoring Donna, and the other from the honoree's niece, who does have the same name as the person whose bust is up here, so I'm not saying it yet. So to reveal the additional honorees, there's some inspiring videos, after which Zach will be back for the final unveiling and concluding comments.
I nominated Dr. Rosalind Franklin. Rosalind Franklin.
Rosalind Franklin, she was a scientist who discovered and made contributions to DNA, RNA, coal, and graphite in the 1940s to early 1950s.
She was a woman in advanced research in the hard sciences at a time where there weren't very many of those. She didn't at the time just need to have the intellect and the skills and the knowledge, but she also had to have a certain tenacity in order to get to where she was in that field.
Her work in the early 1940s was pivotal in finding the double helix structure for DNA.
She had the ability to discover something that's so quintessential to science today, but then also wasn't necessarily recognized for it until later. It's very easy to talk about Isaac Newton and Galileo and all of these people. Franklin plays a very important role in how we understand biology, but she is rarely mentioned in a biology classroom.
Women, minorities, other groups that haven't been the dominant ones represented in these fields have a harder hill to climb. It's important to make sure that we do celebrate their contributions and use that as a lesson for ourselves to try to break down some of those barriers that might still be in place, whether those are implicit or explicit.
I think it's really important to give credit where it's due. It's disappointing that it took 50 years, but it's important that it happened.
As a student, we're always taught to cite all our sources and make sure we reference where our work comes from. So it's always pivotal to note where things come from.
This process of recognizing the diversity of people that contribute to the sciences, I think, is a really long road.
Worcester just brought in their most diverse class in their history, and Worcester is a very diverse school. So being able to show these scientists who might not have gotten recognition during their lifetime or even after their lifetimes is really important for students like me to be able to see faces that might not be the stereotypical face.
We're going to be talking about Chien-Shiung Wu, a nuclear physicist.
She was born and raised in China, and she moved to America when she decided to go to college. So she grew up in a society where people didn't really believe in the value of education for girls, but her father was able to let her go on with her education.
She essentially came over from China and did this huge leap of faith to ultimately become one of the most successful physicists of all time.
She actually was known as the queen of nuclear physics. Her biggest scientific accomplishment was disproving the law of parity, which is the switching of signs in the time and space axes. So she put cobalt in this chamber and she made it really, really cold, and then it started to decay, and then it would turn into nickel, but then it would release gamma rays and electrons. But that didn't happen in the Mir universe, so she disproved the law.
It's not every day indubitable natural process is disproved.
Her work ethic was very famous among other co-workers and co-scholars.
She won the Comstock Prize in Physics, the National Medal of Science, the Wolf Prize in Physics. She wrote Beta Decay, which is standard reading.
She was the first woman president of the American Physical Society, which is a huge society today, and they host all the conferences, and they're like one of the very main players in physics. I think there's a big stigma behind the STEM fields, especially physics and math, that it's only for certain people. I think that stigma can sometimes be misconstrued as part of the past, but I still think it's very relevant today.
But by just having someone who has gone through same struggles that I'm going through now, I think that's inspiring.
And we need to get these people who have been not in the spotlight in there. You know, they deserve it, and their accomplishments are groundbreaking.
And I think it's a great time for us to celebrate our own identity.
It might not change the world, but it might change some perspective.
Okay, so to unveil the busts of Doctors Franklin and Wu, I would like to invite up Marissa Tate, class of 2021. She is studying cognitive and behavioral neuroscience and is in the pre-medical program. All right, so I think that brings us to the conclusion of our program this afternoon, but I am going to thank again everyone who everyone else has already thanked. So we hope that you're as excited as we are to start seeing these gorgeous portraits and these busts around the building in the Science Library. Irene mentioned earlier that the portraits will be going up in the main staircase as you come in, and the busts will actually be placed on top of the built-in bookcases that you see around the edge of the reading room here. So here, and then two on the other side. And those videos that we just premiered will also be added to our Hidden Science Superstars information page. Again, that link at the bottom of your program. And we'll be posting them on our social media as well. And so before we adjourn, I'd like to thank and recognize and acknowledge one more time everyone at the State Library of Ohio, Mary and Damon Hickey for their roles in helping to make this program happen, Heather Fitzgibbon for her assistance in securing additional external funding, Donna Jacobs for her many years of service that made Timken Science Library a really special place. President Bolton, Provost Newton, Irene Harold, not just for being here and for supporting the program, but for making programs like this one a priority for the college and for the libraries. Shadra and the CDI for their support and assistance. May Evans, who you didn't see at the front of the room today, but who did tremendous work and was absolutely essential to the entire program, both today and for the last year plus. Our other colleagues in the libraries, especially Ubikin Gunawan, who helped us with a lot of the logistics for today. Really anyone who contributed at any point to make this a success. We have a list of acknowledgments on the back of the program, and if there's someone there that we left out, we sincerely apologize, but know that we value every iota of effort that went into making this happen. We'd also like to take a moment to just acknowledge all of the College of Worcester STEM faculty who work every day to help our amazing students be the best that they can be. And to thank the entire campus community that makes Worcester a welcoming place. There are a lot of people who do the invisible work here of keeping the college running in places like campus dining, who provided the refreshments, in technology in the copy center, who printed our programs, the trucking department who moved the huge tables this morning, and none of this would be possible without all of them. So there's one last thing I'd like to call your attention to. I'm going to point it out on the program one more time. Below that more information, there's a link to program evaluation. That is related to that Institute of Museum and Library Services LSTA grant that we've been mentioning. It will be available for the next several weeks, so if you could spare a moment of your time to complete that, we would really appreciate it. And with that, the very last thanks are to all of you for coming. Feel free to help yourself to refreshments, buttons, bookmarks, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.